Are you looking for inspiration, peace, and a deeper connection with your soul? If you're ready to investigate your higher truth, take a deeper look inside, and discover a better way to live, stay tuned for Higher Soul Living, where we ignite your divine intelligence for life. With me, Reverend Christine Hart-Savage. I experienced a profound spiritual awakening that was so life-changing. It took me into a 30-year career as a metaphysical life coach and breathwork expert. I've mentored thousands of people through their personal challenges, anxiety, self-doubt, and search for meaning. Higher Soul Living is about choosing to live the higher way. It's about taking conscious ownership and drawing spiritual intelligence into your everyday life. Join me on a search for higher truth to find hope, connection, and happiness. The Higher Soul Living Show starts now. Hello everyone, this is Reverend Christine here this morning, or it could be your afternoon or evening. And today we're going to be looking at bending reality. Is it possible? Is it possible to bend your reality? I love this, absolutely love it. But I'm going to apologise right now from the beginning. I tested positive for influenza A a couple of weeks ago, so I've been a bit down and out, and I have a lingering cough. So I apologise right now if I cough during the session. So I thought I'll get that out of the way right now. But I'm trying to suppress that cough so we can have this really, really interesting chat about bending reality. So is your reality real? I love this question. Is your reality actually real? It certainly feels real when you're living it, doesn't it? That's for sure. It feels absolutely real. It feels solid. But is it? Is it solid? Is it real? So are you fascinated by this topic? Because it has so many possibilities, and I am absolutely fascinated by it. And I just think in this world of change and understanding universal principles in a different way that we're starting to do scientifically now, and spiritually for that matter, I think there's a lot to learn in this area. So today we're going to take a peek inside the world of reality from a simple and user-friendly sort of perspective, and just pull this apart a bit and see if it's possible to actually bend reality. And how might that look for your life? If you could literally take a look at your life and then go in and say, okay, I want to change this part and start bending it a certain way. How would that look for you? How would your life look? And even if you really do think it's possible, which a lot of people do, how do you actually do it? Like, how do you do it? How do you bend reality? How do you change your current reality into a version of your life that you choose? It's like, how do you change from one frequency to another frequency? It's like parallel lives that you could jump into and live a particular different version of yourself and a different version of your life. So can we do that? Do you think that that is possible? So life looks like it's fixed. It looks absolutely fixed in the physical world. We look outside of ourselves, we look out the window, we speak to different people, there's different structures around us, and they all look absolutely fixed. So we tend to go along having an interactive experience of whatever presents to us in our lives. Excuse me. So we tend to react to life. Whatever life presents, we respond to in some way because the world looks fixed to us. So we tend to respond to what is happening. But what if we could reverse that? What if we have that absolutely upside down, and perhaps the world is not, we'll put it this way, perhaps the world is responding to us. What we've got going on the inside, it is mirroring back to us. What if we've got it upside down and it is that way? Have you ever questioned this? I've really questioned it, I tell you. But what happens when you do start to question life? What happens when you question, I don't like what's happening here. Perhaps I can change this. Perhaps I can bend my reality. I can bend time. I can change things. What if it only looks like it's my reality, but it's not? What if I can learn to alter my reality? What if I can bend my reality? What if my life now is a product and a reflection of who I am on the inside? What if it is? If I can bend reality, what would I choose it to be? What would I choose to bend it to be? What would you choose to do with your life if you could change it? So many juicy questions. And it's interesting because science knows now that our bodies are approximately 99.9% empty space. The environment around us that we live in, it's 99.9% empty space. In between those atoms, there's just space, vast space. But is it empty? Is it empty space? Or is that space something that is so dynamic, so powerful and intelligent? Maybe it's the building blocks of life that lives within that quantum field, within that space. So one of my favorite, famous quantum physicists is Niels Bohr. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a Danish physicist, and he won a Nobel Prize in physics I wrote that down somewhere, 1922, for his contribution to understanding atomic structure and quantum theory. So he was also a philosopher and a promoter of scientific research. So we've got these earlier scientists or quantum scientists that were around. Another one that I've read a lot of over the years, Max Planck, Planck, and he was the renowned originator of quantum theory. So there's, amazing people that have looked into this deeper universal quantum field. So Max Planck, I love his work. His work revolutionized the understanding of atomic and subatomic processes. And he also received a Nobel Prize for physics in 1918. So the understanding of the quantum world is not new. Well, I suppose in the whole scheme of life forever and ever, millions of years it is. But it's been developing now for many years, which takes us into the world of quantum physics. So what is it? What is quantum physics? Quantum physics is the study of matter and energy at the atomic and subatomic level. So tiny, tiny, tiny. It explores the behavior of matter and energy. And it's revealing how the fundamental building blocks of our nature interact, how everything interacts in our universe. Now, this field is crucial for understanding the universe at its most basic level. And, there's so much to learn. We don't know a lot about this. I've always found quantum physics fascinating, and it fits in so well with metaphysical science too, because it's all just melds together. It's all part of life and who we are. And we're so conditioned in a certain way that life is fixed and this is the way it is, that we don't tend to ask questions and look further. But I think it's a really good idea to look at your life and actually look at what you're doing, who you are, where you've come from, and really embracing all of that, and then consciously looking at, well, who am I going to choose to be in the world now? And start moving towards that thing that you are wanting to develop in your life. A lot of my personal spiritual experiences have allowed me to understand quantum physics in a way that I otherwise wouldn't. So it's really happened for me through direct experience. And then I might read something from a quantum physicist. And I think, oh, I really get that because I've never studied science. I really get that. I get it because of my direct experience that I've had spiritually. So, having said that, what is quantum physics and spirituality? How are they connected? And they are connected. It's a view of the world that accepts the numinous. It's numinous at the foundation of cosmic order. And I like that word numinous, and I actually looked it up for you because it's I suppose it's not a common word. So it's having a strong religious or spiritual quality indicating or suggesting the presence of divinity. So quantum physics is more than physics. It's a new form of mysticism which suggests interconnectedness of all things and all beings, and the connection of our minds with a cosmic mind. So it is massive. So there's different language that we could use for this. So I'm sort of sticking today with a bit of the scientific quantum physics language. And a question I've been asked is, what is the soul according to quantum physics? Because I tend to use the word soul, the higher self, this higher being that is intelligent, that we are attached to and part of, and it is part of us. So where does that fit into quantum physics? So building on the previous comments that we've been speaking about now, which presented a novel interpretation, if you like, of quantum physics, suggesting that everything at its core is a quantum vibrational field carrying information, energy, and matter. We are vibrating information. That's what we are. But we look very solid and dense to ourselves. Quantum physics puts forward the concept that the soul is the content of the information carried in one's quantum vibrational field. So they would look at that as that's the soul. And it really doesn't matter which way we view this. There is an intelligence that science and spirituality are understanding that are within us, part of us, we are part of it. And I personally believe that science and spirituality are the same thing because that has been my personal experience. So can we consciously affect our lives? So 30 years ago, when I was really researching these subjects, it's like I was a sponge and studying metaphysical science. And people like, in the earlier days, like Deepak Chopra, Dr. Deepak Chopra, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay came on the scene with her wonderful work, and Dr. Bruce Lipton, the cell biologist. And he's known for his work between the connection between science and spirit. Particularly, he's into epigenetics and the power of consciousness. So, of course, the power of consciousness, it's that intelligence, it's that awareness and the raising of consciousness, universal consciousness that we can bring through into the body, into our mind, and connecting with a higher mind, a cosmic mind, perhaps. I couldn't get enough of this. I really was like a sponge, and I suppose I still am now. So this is an exciting area of life because you can call it an area, but it sort of is life. I was speaking with a client earlier this week, and she's moved to Australia from Europe, and she was speaking about this fear she has and how there were these conditions and certain people that she was dealing with in Europe. So here she is, and she's moved to Australia, and she mentioned to me that the same thing, the exact same thing, is happening to her again that she had in Europe. It's happening here. So here she is facing this same issue again. And we were both laughing at this because it's what happens. We can move away, but anything that is unresolved vibrationally, emotional patterns that are within us, they just come with us. It's like we pack them up in our suitcase and we bring them with us. So we can't escape who we are. So really, is the universe something that we respond to, or is it actually showing us and reflecting, mirroring back to us what we've got going on inside us and directly related to the frequency that we're holding? Directly related to emotional patterns, things that we are holding inside, our beliefs. What if life is responding and reality is bending the whole time to fit with what we have going on inside us? Not what we want, not what we believe, but mirroring back who we are at a deep fundamental level, what we're carrying inside our vibrational frequency. What if it's matching up with that? So if it is, it must continue to show up in our lives again, which makes sense. Wherever we move, the same thing will happen again. Same. Different clothing, same type of energy, same type of challenges that we have to face. So we don't get necessarily what we want, but we get who we are. So that mirroring of what's inside us. And this is the law of attraction in action. Absolutely the law of attraction. So it's a really good idea if we take notice of what life is showing us. Not to make ourselves wrong or right, but to just observe. Just observe and say, oh, this keeps happening all the time. This pattern keeps coming up. Pardon me. So sometimes things are an easy fix. We can make a different decision, a different choice, and action something. And it can actually change the trajectory of your life doing that. But sometimes things are harder because they're sitting down in the unconscious. We don't know they're there. But we can really learn to observe that by what presents in our lives and actually starting to deal with those particular conditions that are presenting to us and showing us who we are underneath. But if you open to other possibilities of life, if in your mind you can open your mind to the what ifs, what if there are other opportunities, there are other possibilities for your life? You know, you could start to experiment with your life, which is what I have done a lot. So most of us just keep creating the same thing over and over. So all change in the theory of quantum physics has to start from the inside. There has to be an inner shift before life will reflect the new direction that you'd like to take your life. There has to be an inner shift. The other thing that has to happen, and I love heart math for this too, because it's taught a lot about coherence, which is just amazing. Again, quantum physics at its best. When you become coherent with the new creation, something that you are designing, something that you would like to bring into your life or become or do, the old way must drop away. So that old vibration that's been acting out and playing in your life must become a flatliner. It must drop away because there's nothing going to hold it in place if you don't resonate with that, if it's not coherent anymore. Whatever was matching that in your physical world must just drop away. So when you become aligned and coherent with the new creation internally, it must come into manifestation. It just makes sense. And the other thing is that you don't really have to worry about the how, because we do that. Oh, how would this happen? I can't see how this could possibly manifest in my life. You don't have to worry about the how. This is the magic of the quantum field or that universal source. That's the magic. When we become aligned mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually with our creation. It must, it must come into our lives. And we don't have to know how. It can be ways that we would never and could never have worked out. Which takes me into a story. So, this is a personal story. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I'll tell you the outline of this. So personally, just over 2.5 years ago, I had, and as we all do, we go through things unexpected, expected, they bring up fear, they bring up all sorts of things. And I had a doozy about 2.5 years ago. I had this really unexpected and shocking, and when I say shocking, shock. I was in shock. This shocking life shift. And I was completely blindsided. I had no idea that this was going to happen. And I went into really deep shock. I don't know if you've ever had that really deep shock where suddenly you find yourself, it's like you've sunk to the bottom of the ocean and you just, everything's in slow motion and you just cannot rise out of it. So I was like that for quite a long time. And then I had 18 months of ongoing challenges and chaos to deal with. And there was no escaping this situation. I don't like chaos at all, but there was no escaping it. I had to work methodically through this situation. So what I got to in the end is, okay, get up, do your meditation every day like you normally do. So I meditated and thought really clearly a lot about this situation that had presented in my life and its ongoing challenge at that time. So I also looked at the opportunities that this situation might have been presenting for me, that I knew some of them and maybe not others. And I also looked at what the karma might be with this person. And I wanted to release that karma and balance it out for the highest good of both of us. So I wanted to do this to the best of my ability without blame, hostility, but also with strength and honor. So that was my focus. And I admit it was a really difficult and challenging time. It was not easy, but I chose to practice what I believe around life, about spirituality and the quantum field, about soul. So I worked in a really focused way every single day. I got up in the early hours of the morning, which I often do. And, I was thinking, I teach this stuff. So now I'm getting a chance to deepen my own personal understanding, a whole new level of this, and to put it into a very powerful action, the best I could. And I had to deal with fears, all my fears that were coming up, as we do. And I knew part of what I was focusing on creating was impossible to achieve if I looked at my physical reality at that time. It was just impossible. There was no way that, it could happen. But I kept focusing on what it was I wanted to create in the physical world. And I knew that I had to deal with anything that was blocking me, any old emotional stuff, any old fears. So I didn't let my current physical reality take over. And I worked for hours every day on changing my circumstance from the inside out. And I spent 2 to 3 hours in the early hours of the morning working with this, and then off and on during the day. So I used everything I knew about quantum physics, coherence, and imprinting universal energy. I also strongly focused on drawing in soul energy or light until I was totally filled with that light. And I worked with forgiveness until I felt only love and this sense of harmony and calm inside myself, my heart, my solar plexus, my emotions were steady. Anytime they went out of balance, I kept working on that until it was balanced again. And I projected with absolute white hot focus the light that I'd drawn into my being. I focused that directly into my creation for the highest good. Now, my thoughts were, what if we really can bend reality? That's why I was giving it my very best possible effort. That's what I wanted to do. And I was using everything I understood about the soul and that light energy on top of what I'd learnt about quantum physics and the law of creation, the law of attraction, to manifest what I needed. So it got to the point where it was right at crunch time, at this last moment, and there was nothing adding up in my physical life that I could see that was working. But I didn't give up. I just kept my focus on what I was wanting to manifest, keeping myself steady, doing all of those steps that I just mentioned. And then suddenly, bang, at that very last hour, there was a shift. A miracle happened, a miracle. And I mean a miracle. You could never have believed what happened. The shift was so profound. And I just thought, how on earth did that happen? But it happened. It just shifted from one reality to another. Absolutely, completely and utterly. And it has made a huge difference to my life and the way I live my life. So I look at this impossible thing that happened and I ask you, can we bend reality? So with what happened with me, was it coincidence? Do you think it was coincidence? Or did I actually bend my own reality? Did I bend my reality? All of that work and that focus and everything that I understood at the time that I put into practice, that I started to understand even more and more, and I'm sure I know a tiny bit of something that is massive. There's so much to know and to learn. But was it coincidence? Or did I actually bend my own reality? I suppose we'll never really know. But I believe that I did bend my reality. And I know one thing, it takes incredible focus. And the main thing is when we're manifesting things is that, or when we're creating in the creating stage, that we often don't hold that. We let, we might be doing actions that are not in alignment with where we're going, what we're doing, what we want to bring into our lives. We have to become aligned. We have to become coherent. Now, I just want to mention too, I have one 4-week coaching program available, just one left at the moment. So if you're interested in working with me, you can look me up and send an email to me on soul, S-O-U-L, life, L-I-F-E, connection.com, soullifeconnection.com. I'd love to work with you if you're interested in all of this type of thing and manifesting something wonderful for yourself in your life, how to use your mind, how to get in touch with your emotions and stabilize, and how to create and focus. So my closing message today in this world of quantum physics, if you don't like what's happening in your life, if you want change, start experimenting. Start learning how to focus energy, how to direct energy. Start changing or bending your reality, or at least having the intention to do that, and just see what happens. You can start with something big, you could start with something small. It depends. But you've got absolutely nothing to lose, nothing at all. So why don't you give that a go? Really sit down, take an area of your life and just pick something out of that area and start pulling in energy, pulling in light, staying aware and conscious with it, and start designing and putting energy into that particular thing and see where you go with it. It's very exciting, very exciting, very exciting. I wish you many blessings and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for tuning in to Higher Soul Living, where you'll ignite your divine intelligence for life with me, Reverend Christine Hart-Savage. Join me every second and fourth Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio, For more information and stories that inspire hope, possibilities, and a greater understanding of who you are at a higher soul level. Together we deepen the connection between the spiritual and the physical aspects of your being and align to your soul's innate intelligence. Metaphysics and the higher soul's journey are my greatest joy. I invite you to join our Facebook community, Soul Life Connection Group, and to visit my website, soullifeconnection.com, for more information about me, my programs, my coaching, and to tap into your higher soul's intelligence. I hope to see you next time.